Welcome to RDH Canada, the podcast all about living and practicing as a registered dental hygienist in Canada. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of RDH Canada. I am Lisa Moore, joining with my co-host, Joe Siegfried from Ontario, Canada. But our guest today, Kelly Antosh, is currently in Africa. So please, Kelly, tell us a little about yourself and what you are doing there.
We get a little bit of a delay.
Okay.
Okay. Awesome. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can.
Okay. I apologize. Did you ask me a question you wanted me to answer? Because I didn't hear it.
I did a brief introduction, and I'm wondering what I think everybody's wondering what you're doing in Africa.
Aha. Well, I've been here for a week now, and I'm in Tanzania, in East Africa, in a rural town called Ifakara. And since 2017, I've been working with the Charitable Foundation out of Canada, and we have designed and delivered, and they're now overseeing a community oral health program in this town that has trained local community health workers to become dental health educators. And so I check in on them once a year when I'm here.
So Kelly, tell us a little bit about your practice. So how long have you been practicing as a dental hygienist, and where in Canada do you practice?
I have been practicing since 1994. I'm based out of Greater Vancouver, but I went to Dalhousie, so I'm a maritimer at heart.
Okay. You practice, do you practice in a like a GP practice in British Columbia?
Your question will catch up in a minute. Your pause for a second. Sorry. Yeah, I do a little bit. I think I'm missing a little bit of it, but I do practice part-time clinically, and I teach part-time.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And how did you get connected with, I guess it's Provision Charitable Foundation? How did that all
Yeah.
begin for you?
Well, this is an interesting story because I was living in Whistler, BC, and I was connected with a guy there who ran an organization called Bicycles for Humanity, where they collected secondhand bikes and put them in a shipping container and sent them off to parts of Africa for people that are healthcare workers and kids that didn't have mobility access to certain things. And so he became a bit of a humanitarian mentor for me. And we talked through scenarios and wondered how I could use my education and experience as a dental hygienist effectively in this part of the world. And when I say this, I mean in Africa. And we believed that education was the piece that that was where the dental hygienist experience and expertise came into play. So the long story is, I got together some dental hygienists, and we worked for 5 years and developed oral health training program for community health workers, not really knowing where we were going to use it or how we were going to use it, but we plotted away and dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's. And then a colleague of mine that was a dentist out of Dalhousie called me randomly one day and asked if I wanted to join a clinical team to Tanzania. And I said yes, but I couldn't because I was having some medical issues. But he mentioned that this organization has a long relationship in Tanzania and they wanted to do more long-term sustainable things. And did I want to talk to them? So I talked to them, and the man that I talked to is outside down the hall right now. And he has been a little bit of a champion and an avenue for me because he embraced this idea of sustainable change run by the local people, and he's made it possible, and the foundation. And I'm on the board of the foundation now, but this foundation has made it possible. And the nice thing is that they really, really value prevention in oral health. So it's been a little bit of a gift along the way, little gifts here and there to put us in the right place at the right time.
Hi there. So we're going to turn our video off. Maybe that will help.
Maybe I'll turn mine off too. Honestly, I think this complicated. If it doesn't work this way, then we can do it next week, but I want to do it whatever's easiest for you guys. So let me turn my camera off. Let's see how I can turn my camera off.
Or maybe even just our cameras off might be better for you.
Okay, let's give it a shot. I apologize. I'm doing the best I can.
Don't worry, don't worry. No, that's what it's all about. So Lisa had a question for you.
Okay.
Yeah, so my question, Kelly, was so when we first discussed, having you on and I didn't really know who you were, I assumed you were there doing clinical hygiene. But you're not doing clinical hygiene there. You're doing more of an educator role. So I'm just curious, who exactly are you educating the public, or are you educating like dental professionals there? Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
I am and I really believe in this. I'm very proud to say that I'm not doing clinical work because my personal feeling is a dental hygienist is much better suited to be doing education in an area like this, because one hygiene visit once in someone's life is great, but it doesn't really, as we know, hygiene is meant to be an ongoing maintenance type of situation. So I am not educating anybody. I don't speak the local language. So I educate the people who are going to educate. So when I leave, this program runs 5 days a week, 365 days a year, so to speak, because we have educated the local people to become the dental educators. So we have 8 of them who are employed by our foundation. In fact, our foundation built a residence, a medical student residence in this town, because there's a medical school here. And so 40% of the revenue from that residence pays the salaries of these 8 we call them community dental workers. So they are our people on the ground. They are the front lines. I watch them and I'm really proud of them when they teach, but there's no point in me teaching and having to be translating or have to be translated when they can do the teaching themselves.
That's incredible. And so it's a year-round program. So it's the community oral health program is a year-round program. And who supplies the program? Who is it all through the foundation?
So the foundation owns the program, for lack of a better word, but we initially partnered with the medical school in this town, and they sort of helped administrate it because the residents half belongs to them. And so our community dental workers are contracted employees of the university, and they get paid by the university, even though their salaries come from the residents. I technically oversee them, even though I'm not here. They have a supervisor that's supplied by the university, but we have memorandum of understanding with Colgate-Palmolive's Bright Smiles, Bright Futures in Tanzania. So the great guy named Christian Noah, who's a Tanzanian guy, he's seen the program in action. And so our community dental workers send quarterly reports to him of how many people they're contacting. And based on those numbers, he will send them toothbrushes, toothpaste, and Swahili educational materials so that they can use them in the field. And we just, in the last month or two, signed a memorandum of understanding with the Tanzania Dental Association. So they are now involved, and they were here this week actually and watched our community dental workers in the field. And so now they are connected with them, and they're going to have our community dental workers are going to come speak at their national conference, and they'll assist them during World Oral Health Week. So we've got really good partners here in Tanzania, which is really important because we are quite far away.
Yeah. And so how often are you there then?
Once a year for 2 weeks a year. Yeah.
Wonderful. That's amazing. And do you work, I've always found it really interesting because a lot of my colleagues in the US are connected to mission style types of things in Africa that I've never really known of any kind of programs in Canada that, like, there's a few out of Canada, but do you know of any of those types of programs? It's interesting that you said that sort of earlier, that, once of your hygiene it won't necessarily change things, but what you're doing is really just changing the whole mindset.
Well, it's changing things at a level when they don't have a problem already. I mean, that's what's great about dental hygiene, is that we are preventive people. We want to stop things before they start, and primary prevention, and this is it. We've had clinical teams come in and partner with Provision Charitable Foundation here. And of course, it meets an incredible need for people that have problems in the immediate. But if we just keep sending in clinical teams, then it's just going to be a self-perpetuating cycle. We and I'll probably get to this eventually, but we wrote a children's oral health book that's been in partnership with Dalhousie's Faculty of Dental Hygiene, actually, and we used their book as a model, and we printed 1,000 copies last year. I have a copy, I can show it to you, but we delivered them last fall into quite a rural community beyond where I am, and they've never had any access to any oral health education or treatment. And we had our community dental workers do surveys with them before they got the books. And then 2.5 months later, they went back and surveyed them again, just based on what do you know, what do you do, what are your practices, what do you believe? And we went from approximately, just as an example, 40% of people when we first started did not know that they had to clean their baby's teeth and gums. And 2.5 months later, because of a book in their home, they now report that 100% of them not only know they should do it, but are now doing it 2.5 months later, because a book that we left in their home is doing the work for us and we don't have to be here.
Oh, that's amazing. It's kind of like the give a man a fish saying, right? You
Exactly.
but teach them to fish, and it's a whole different experience for them. Yeah, that's really amazing.
So the hope is that these kids now are going to have a better start with their dentition, right? Yeah.
So I'm just seeing it now. The book is called Healthy Teeth, Healthy Life.
Yes. Do you want me to hold a copy up for the camera?
That would be wonderful, so people can have
I'm going to walk with it. We just picked up a few copies at a storage because we're meeting with the Ministry of Health for Tanzania next week, and we need a copy. So here is what it looks like.
Amazing.
It's a hard board book, and it's just the story of. It's told from the perspective of a child who says, when I'm a baby, the best thing my mother can do is feed me from her own milk. And when I get older, the best drink for me is water. And my teeth feel better when they get brushed once in the morning and once in the evening with my own toothbrush, those kind of things.
That's great. And you've been doing this since 2017, correct?
2017 is when I came with a team and we did assessments. So we did DMFT indices and surveys sorry, I'm looking out because they're playing soccer in the field behind me, but we did DMFTs and surveys of the kids in some of the schools just to know baseline what their oral health was like. And we found a high number of primary and secondary decay, and surprising the number of kids who report that their primary beverage in a day is soda. And that's the shocking part, because soda is now marketed heavy into Africa, and they don't know. They know that it's a good thing because they've never been able to provide it for their own kids, and they want to give their kids something they've never had, but they don't know the damaging effects of it. So it's everywhere, and it's cheaper to buy than water, really, right now.
Wow. That's really fascinating. Cool. So you're there for 2 weeks and the program runs and there's 8 people. Are there plans to expand, to make it bigger, to grow the program in other communities, anything like that?
That's a very good question. So we have run the program since 2021. When we started, we hired 3 community dental workers is when we actually hired them. We trained them up to 2021 and then we hired them. And we had one of the faculty at the university in this town did summative evaluations after 6 months. And then Leah Rock from the Faculty of Dentistry at Dalhousie, who's the director of the Dental Hygiene School, she came and she and a research assistant partnered with us and ran the summative evaluations that were finished last year. So we have the evaluations of the program done initially, and so now the reason we had an opportunity to meet with the what is he called, the Associate Director of Oral Health at the Tanzania Ministry of Health in the capital, and that's happening next week. So it's happening first of all because the books that we printed, which were paid for by Colgate, was considered a pilot. And so we're not technically allowed in the country to distribute any more of these books until we have endorsement from the Ministry of Health, which we're totally fine with. We should have endorsement. So we're getting that in in motion next week, but while we're there, they've invited us to present what the program is so that we can potentially expand. And expansion could mean letting it run in other areas. Expansion could also mean expanding the boundaries of where we are right now. Our community dental workers right now only have government permission to work within what's called the Ivakara Town Council. So they cannot step beyond that boundary without permission. And so their request, we had a meeting with them this morning to go through some issues and problems and challenges going forward. And they have requested that they really would like to start pushing out a little bit farther. So expansion probably will happen that way, but the goal is that this program will be a model and can be used elsewhere.
That's fantastic.
I'm just curious, Kelly, like I'm sorry, you were calling the dental, the health
community dental workers.
Community, yes.
Community dental workers.
Community dental workers. What kind of background do they have? Do they have any kind of dental training before being trained by your organization, or they're trained
as community health workers, and so community health workers is a 1-year training, I think, across lots of parts of Africa. So we recruited people who were community health workers already, so they understood. In fact, when we were training them, the day that we talked about pathologies that they might see, well, technically they're not supposed to be in people's mouths, right? But they need to know what's happening in there. We showed a picture of candidiasis, and they all went, "Oh, candidiasis," because they've been taught to work with people with HIV/AIDS, and so they know. I mean, they've got background in engaging with community members right in the community, and B, with things like pregnancy, with some other systemic diseases. So they've got background in the community, and we just add a piece onto it. Now we focus these guys solely on oral health.
So interesting.
Workers don't exist. We made that term, which we've been a little screwed about because some of the government officials have said dental workers makes it seem like they're working on teeth. And we may change it, but for the last 4 years, it's community workers. That's what they're known as. That's what everybody seems to have adopted. But they're not clinicians. They're not trained in people's mouths. The most they can do is we have a referral form where if someone comes to them with a problem, they can assess their signs and symptoms. Do they have swelling? Are they being kept awake at night, pain? Do they have bleeding? That kind of stuff. And they'll tick off a checklist, and then they'll give them that form and send them to the health centers where they have dental therapists working.
Very interesting. That's fascinating. I love that. It's that oral health is overall health, right? Like you're training these people, like exactly. you're just like, I liked how you said that you're just adding a layer, right? Just adding that layer of knowledge to them.
Yeah. And they're, I love talking about it. Nobody ever really gets to meet these 8 people who I think are absolutely fantastic. I can tell them enough how proud I am of them. In fact, when I say to them, "I'm so proud of you," they just usually say, "Yes, we know, because you told us for it." Now, they don't speak English so well, but they know when I say that's what I mean.
So what kind of communities are they going? Are they going into schools? Are they going into long-term care homes? Are they going into what kind of... Where are they going to spread? Like, I know you mentioned children and like starting young is like key, but I'm just curious as to what their main, I don't want to say demographic, but for lack of better words, just kind of where they're going.
They are focused primarily on what here they call RCH clinics, which is reproductive child health clinics. And this is where the mamas bring the babies when they're small to get weighed, to get vaccines. And so they connect with the health centers in the different wards, and our people connect with the different ward leaders. And then they go in and they meet the moms when they come in. And so we've targeted moms specifically simply because moms have the greatest influence on their early oral health. They do go to school sometimes, and they can make that choice when they want to. Often the RCH clinics have some times where they're not running. But there's a lot of them. There's probably 60 or 70 RCH clinics in this area. But long-term care, as far as I know, Lisa, doesn't really exist. When people are elderly, they're at home with their families. There's no facility for them to go to. So we have focused them on the moms because evidence shows that's where, for early oral health, that's where it starts. However, we just found out today that now that they've been doing this for 4 years, some of the health centers have been calling them and saying, you were here such and such time to talk to the RCH clinics, and now we're having a community meeting for whatever reason and the moms and the dads are both going to be there. And so maybe you can come in and do a presentation to both parents. So they're starting to get calls requesting them to go, which is really nice for them.
It's funny that you say that. As soon as I said long-term care, I'm like, it's funny how quickly you forget. I forget where you are, and I'm like, that's probably really not a thing over there, but you never know. That's why we have people like you on here to educate us. Yeah.
And honestly, Lisa, I don't even want to say they don't exist, because in the urban areas they might. Because when I met with Tanzania Dental Association executive on Monday, I was a little bit surprised, and I learn all the time. I was a little bit surprised when they introduced themselves that one of them is an orthodontist, one of them is a pedodontist, one of them is an oral maxillofacial surgeon. And I just thought, I don't want to sound pudding, but I guess in my mind I'm thinking ortho. Like ortho is such a luxury in some ways when it comes to, we just need our teeth healthy, but there's a demand for it in the cities. So
like, how far are you? Like, how rural are you? Like you said, you're outside of the city. Like, how far are you from like a big, like, are you kind of in between? Are you in the remote community?
Dar es Salaam is the major city, and so that's where we fly into, and this is Africa, so we're probably a good 10, 12-hour drive from the main city. But I mean, Ifakara is a city. They're probably about 100,000, but I mean, it's not uncommon that the power will go out for a little while in the course of a day. The main roads are paved, but the back roads are just dirty and dusty. And I wanted to say, you can't tell. I'm looking at myself going, you can't tell that I'm sweaty and dusty, but most every day we're sweaty and dusty. It's not common unless you're in we're in a hostel type situation. They have a training health center here, which was where we stay. But outside of here, it'd be hard pressed to find a flush toilet. It's usually just a hole with footprints where you can stand. So it's rural enough that all the modern conveniences aren't here.
Okay.
So what's the major city that you're closest to?
It's called Dar es Salaam.
Oh, I see. Okay.
That's the big city. I'm not sure if that's the one we're closest to. It's the one that we fly into. Dodoma is the capital, even though it's a smaller city. So the president just actually they built an electric train line, which almost links us. We're about 3-4 hours from where that train line ends, and we'll connect with Dar es Salaam or to Dodoma.
Okay.
So we're driving down there. And the nice thing is to drive from here to where the train is, which is Morogoro, and then we'll connect to Dodoma, is we drive through game park. And so on the way up, we saw a giraffe, a few zebra, and a couple elephants on the side of the road.
That's great. I'm just looking at the map now. So Dar es Salaam is on
near the coast.
Yeah.
So and then if you go a little bit southwest, you'll hit a place called Morogoro.
Yeah, I see it all.
And then, and that's where the train ends. And then it goes off to Dodoma, and we drive towards Ifakara.
Cool. That is amazing. And
it's a nice place.
I think oftentimes we think of Canada as being massive, right? Because we are such a large country, but Africa is a continent with a number of countries in it. And like just looking at Tanzania on a map, I sort of looked it up in prep for this and thinking about how large it is in terms of landmass as well. So it's pretty cool.
It's larger. Yeah. And a lot of people don't differentiate. They'll tell you they've been to the Netherlands and Switzerland, and then you say Africa, and they just sort of think it's all just one place. But once you've been here, then you start to go, which country and which side of the continent? It is a massive continent.
Yeah. Cool. That's really. And in terms of, so how do you come back from 2 weeks of being here and doing this incredible work to working in clinic and clinical hygiene and
Well, I got to pay the bills.
Fair enough.
I have a good setup clinically, because I have a couple offices where I'm not really booked regularly, but they'll let me sort of look at the months ahead and decide which days I want to go in. And then when I teach, I'm at the Vancouver College of Dental Hygiene, which is a private school in New Westminster, and I teach Community Dental Hygiene 1 and Community Dental Hygiene 2. So this stuff overlaps into teaching, and I think I'm not trying to make it sound like I'm overly special, but it's not every hygienist that gets to work in community programming. And so for me to be able to share life experiences with them and what this looks like, and every single one of my students knows that this is my happy place. And they asked me before I left, they said, are we your favorite class? And I'm like, no, my favorite class is in Tanzania.
That's great. Isn't that exciting?
So WhatsApp makes it really easy because our 8 community dental workers are divided into 2 teams. And last year we raised money and bought them motorcycles. So we trained 4 of them to be drivers and get licensed, and we've got the insurance and the helmets and whatnot to make them safe. But they divide into 2 teams, and every other day one team has the motorcycles. So there's 2 team leaders, and they all have access to me on WhatsApp. It's not uncommon for me to get 5 or 6 messages from them in a course of a week. And one of them will message and say, we're running low on money for the motorcycles, and we'll e-transfer them some more money. And they just keep track of the receipts and shoot them off when they need us to top them up. So the contact with them is actually very easy.
Cool. I'm just looking at the site now. So if somebody wants to get in contact or donate, they can donate directly through Provision Charitable Foundation, and the website is provisioncharitablefoundation.org.
Yeah.
The money goes directly to the variety, and there's more than just healthcare programs. There's other programs that Provision does.
Our other programs are, Provision's mandate is to be doing things that are sustainable and locally run. Our other big project that is just getting off the ground right now is honey processing. So we have a Tanzanian guy who's engaging with the different communities and setting up honey cooperatives, and we've bought a piece of land not far from Ifakara, and we're going to build a honey processing center. Maybe not that this is oral health related. However, people will grow or harvest their honey, and we will pay them, and then we'll process it and then sell it. So it sets them up with income. And I know I don't want to ask the question, is organization that does honey and also does oral health is conflict of interest. I don't know. It's a bit of a tricky one, but yeah.
Yeah, but it creates a sustainable enterprise.
It does. It does.
So
it does.
Yeah, again, I love the sustainability of the programs you're doing. That's really fantastic.
Well, and what I love too is that we've got 8 community dental workers. And I told people up until a month ago, they have 19 kids between them. And then I arrive and find out that one of them just had a baby 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks? 3 weeks ago. So now they have 20 kids between them. And so not only are we educating a community on preventing oral disease 5 days a week, all year long, but we also are providing an income for 8 families and 20 children that actually now have a regular, reliable income. So
that's incredible.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, this has been absolutely fascinating. When we booked you on, I wasn't sure if you were on a mission. We didn't, because we like to have this be very casual and tell us what you do and who you are. And so it's really fantastic. I think it's so people can find Kelly at. Where can people find you if they want to get in touch?
My email is it tricky? It's kdmabey @gmail.com. But if an email goes to Provision Charitable Foundation, then it will get to me as well.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll have the provisioncharitablefoundation.org website up on the end of this. So if people want to get in contact or donate to the programs, they can do that through the site. And this has been an absolute pleasure, Kelly, to have you on the show. It's I think it's really fascinating. I think a lot of us dental hygienists don't. We don't know what all of our colleagues are doing at all the time, and it's I think this will really open up people's eyes and inspire, and it's been really fantastic to have you on.
I never mind talking about it, obviously, because I'm so proud of it, but also proud of the people that run it. But I'm also really proud of our profession, because this is something that sits firmly in the wheelhouse of a dental hygienist. And the dean at Dalhousie's Faculty of Dentistry said to me one time, he said, we can support you as a faculty of dentistry, and they do, with advice and contacts and whatnot. But he said, this firmly sits in the wheelhouse of a dental hygienist. This is what you guys are programmed to do, and we are. So I'm happy.
Yeah, that's great. We are educators, and that's really the heart of what we do. So it's really
Yeah.
incredible. So I want to thank you
Yeah.
so much for joining us today. So again, if you want to get in touch with Kelly, provisioncharitablefoundation.org. And it's been an absolute pleasure. I want to thank you for coming on, and thank you for joining us here at RDH Canada.
Thank you, Joe and Lisa, and greetings from Tanzania.
Yes, thank you, Kelly. Lovely chatting with you today.
You too.
For all of our subscribers, if you want to just hit a like and subscribe, share with your friends, you can find us on all of the major podcast platforms and YouTube as well. So thanks for joining us here at RDH Canada, and we'll see you next time.